What is up? Good Mike Work Commentaries back at you with episode 457. I am your host, Greg Morgan. No Mercy 2017 is in the books. And what the hell was that all about? What went on there with the main event? Holy shit. I'm pretty shocked and pretty disappointed too, to be honest with you. I was enjoying the pay-per-view, and I cannot believe the finish of that main event. So obviously I'm up here as promised to give you your No Mercy results and my reaction, and we got to start with the main event. It was, in fact, Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar. They did, luckily, put the Universal title in the main event, which is the way I felt it should have been all along, and Roman and Cena should have been earlier on in the card. But given the way the matches went, I almost wish it was reversed now, because Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar just had a terrible match together. Horrible, very boring, very uneventful when you think about the build of Braun Strowman and everything they've been doing with him over the past few months, destroying Roman Reigns along the way and just chewing up and spitting out everybody in front of him, and he has literally become a believable monster. Even what he's done to Brock in the past couple of weeks. In my mind, when I was doing my predictions, the only outcome I could see that made logical sense in this match was for Braun to win the title. However, I wasn't going to be so black and white with it. I wasn't going to say, oh, Braun must win the title or I'm going to cancel my WWE network. It wasn't necessarily like that. I feel as if he should have won the title. However, in my mind, I was thinking if the match was awesome and grueling and there was multiple destroyed announce tables and the guys just kicked ass out there, much like John Cena and Roman Reigns did earlier on in the show, then I would be fine really with whoever won. I honestly, at the end of the day, do not care because I'm a Strowman mark and I'm a Brock mark. So provided that the match is good, I'm not going to freak out too bad either way, regardless of who wins or loses. But this match was so deflating. I mean, there has been some talk on Twitter. A few people have mentioned to me that Braun Strowman may have injured his arm. If that's the case, they may have called for an early finish. I mean, Brock obviously was probably scheduled to win this whole time, but I still think if the match was a little bit better, I could have accepted Brock's victory a little bit more. And a lot of fans were immediately like, Strowman is buried and all this shit. You know, I think we need to calm down on the buried comments. People were saying the same thing about Bray Wyatt earlier on. Braun Strowman is not necessarily buried. There's no shame in losing to Brock Lesnar. For fuck's sake, he's the most believable fighter in the WWE. The greatest guys in the history of the business have lost to Brock Lesnar. It's not going to kill and bury Braun Strowman. He's not going to NXT. He's not working kickoff matches, okay? It's not over for him. But considering what they've done with him recently, I'm in 100% agreement with everybody that says he should have won the title tonight. I believe he should have, especially with the market they were in. They were in LA. They didn't really have any title changes except one that made me vomit right before the main event. Other than that, it felt like it was Braun's night. You just felt it, and I was hoping that it would be. So if he wound up being injured and they went to an early finish, that could explain the fact that the match wasn't very exciting. I mean, I'll go one better and say the match was flat out boring, which sucks because Brock and Braun are not boring guys, but their match was. And they didn't come anywhere close to matching the level that Cena and Roman had. So despite the hot start by Strowman, he was manhandling Brock pretty much in the beginning there. He wound up losing to just an F5 after I think Brock kicked out of one of his power slams or whatever. So Brock tonight looked like the better man. Whether they booked it that way or whether Strowman got injured and they ended it early, I don't know. All I know is the main event was extremely disappointing, especially since the pay-per-view up until this point was pretty decent. We had some really good matches on this show, and the guys worked their asses off. In some cases, they lost a bunch of teeth. So the roster itself, I think, deserves a round of applause. And I thought that Brock and Strowman would be the nice cherry on top at the end. I mean, I thought they were going to brutalize each other. I thought they were going to destroy the ring, tear everything up, and just make a mess out of everything, and they were going to spill into the crowd. I just thought it was going to be a crazy brawl. Kind of a letdown, but what can you do? We'll have to see what happens tomorrow night on Raw, whether or not Strowman has anything to say, or whether or not he's injured or not, or whether or not they have a rematch. Originally, I thought for sure, hands down, no matter who wins here, there was going to be a rematch, but Brock beat him pretty convincingly, just like he did to Samoa Joe at Great Balls of Fire. I thought he would work with Joe a couple of times, and after he beat him the way he did, you know, he didn't really work with him again, unless you count SummerSlam in the Fatal 4-Way or whatever. So I don't know if this is it for Braun and Brock. It kind of seems like it is, and if that's the case, that's a shame, because think about who Braun Strowman dominated all throughout the year to get this title shot. Roman Reigns, the next guy. So, yeah, I'm sure you guys are going to echo my sentiments there in the comments below. I'm sure you're just as disappointed with the main event as I am. I'm just not going to go as crazy as everybody else. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to rant. I'm not going to cancel my WWE network. I'm an adult, and I can talk about things like an adult. And even though I found this disappointing, it is what it is. The other big half of that double main event was anything but disappointing, and that was John Cena and Roman Reigns putting on a great match. The near falls, I will say, got a little bit out of hand. I mean, Roman Reigns was kicking out of one AA after another. He even kicked out of a second rope AA, and then he kicked out of one of those double AAs that John Cena does. So he was kicking out of everything, eventually speared and pinned John Cena and got the clean victory. I thought the match was very solid. I mean, they went all over the place. They basically did what I was hoping Brock and Braun Strowman would do. They were all on the outside of the ring, getting speared through announce tables and shit like that. They were tearing it up out there. And with all of the near falls and the crowd involvement with, Cena sucks and Roman sucks and you both suck. I mentioned on Twitter a couple of times that this was the first match that I can think of in WWE history where the fans have wanted both guys to win and both guys to lose. Think about it. Everybody wants to see Roman Reigns lose, so they want to see John Cena win, but they want to see John Cena lose, which means they want to see Roman Reigns win. They can't make up their fucking mind. And I knew it was going to be really fun with the crowd because they were going to be not only going back and forth with each other, but probably going back and forth with themselves. I bet you there's some people that started cheering for Roman in the beginning and then were cheering for Cena at the end of it or something like that. So it was one of those unique matches that you have that I thought would be very intriguing, not only because the guys are going to put on a good match, I had no doubt Cena and Roman would, but the crowd was going to be a lot of fun as well. And this pretty much lived up to expectations. I have very little to complain about the match. Like I said, the near falls were a little bit out of control, but they tend to be in matches like that. It's not the first time we've seen guys kick out of multiple finishers. That usually happens in big time matches like this. So I have very few issues with it. I think the majority of the fans had speculated and predicted that Roman Reigns would probably win. I was one of those people. He did in fact win that match. And it was cool because this match took place, No Mercy was in Staples Center. And if you remember, John Cena won his first ever world title at Staples Center at WrestleMania 21. I tweeted that out, and then about 3 minutes later, Corey Graves mentioned it on TV. So they did make reference to that his first title victory took place in that building. And the way it kind of ended, and John Cena sitting there, it was like, John Cena's lost recently a lot in the past. He lost to AJ Styles and Kevin Owens and Shinsuke Nakamura most recently. So him losing is nothing new really in recent history, but it's who he lost to. And the way he kind of sat there at the end, it seemed like he was telling himself, well, here I was. I tested myself against the best. I tested myself against the WWE's next me, and I failed, and I came up short. And it's kind of fitting that it all began right there in the Staples Center when he won his first world title, and he would go on to win countless more. And I don't think he's done winning them. I'm not saying John Cena's done, and John Cena's not done winning. I think he will tie and potentially break Ric Flair's record. Or has he already tied it? I think he's tied it already. I forgot what the fuck. Well, he will break that record, is what I'm saying. And he's not done winning matches. But his time on top, his time of being 2007 Super Cena, kicking out of everything, just like Roman Reigns did to him tonight. Imagine that. Imagine how many times John Cena opponents have been in the same situation that John Cena was in tonight, where no matter how many finishers he throws at them, they're fucking kicking out. So I think that was kind of fitting, the way that all came together, with Roman Reigns doing the same thing to Cena that he did to so many guys over the last 10 or 12 years. And the way he kind of sat there at the end, I think he realized that his days on top are done, and John Cena from here on out will probably be a part-timer or a mid-carder, aside from the occasional one final title run or maybe a send-off run or whatever they do with him. I mean, he's going to go off and he's going to do more movies. He's going to do outside projects, and he should. I mean, he's now in his 40s. His career, his best days are behind him, even though he can still put on 4 or 5-star matches to this day. He's not going to be on TV every single week in the main events of every pay-per-view, winning every pay-per-view. Those days have been gone for a couple of years, and I think tonight was the night where WWE really signified that by having him lose clean to Roman Reigns. Now, I had mentioned in previous commentaries that I think these two guys will meet again. They had to show respect after. I thought maybe there would be a heel turn, of course. I wasn't holding my breath on that, but right after the handshake, I'm like, okay, who's going to punch who? But with those two fucking guys, neither one of them are ever going to really truly turn heel. So I wasn't expecting that. So they had the handshake and the show of respect, and Cena or Roman Reigns walked off, and then Cena stayed in the ring. And the crowd, just like they did, this started a year ago. I said 7 years ago, when I began my commentaries way back in 2010, that at some point the fans were going to come around on John Cena. There was just no way. He works too hard. They're too young. They're too pissed off. They're too salty to realize it. But when they get older and John Cena winds up his career and winds up in the twilight of his career, I think they're going to appreciate him more as a performer. They can still be pissed that he won during all of those years, but at the end of the day, they're going to respect what he's done because he has given us a lot of good matches, win, lose, or draw. And we saw it when he lost to AJ. Was it at SummerSlam that year? I forgot what it was, and the fans kind of gave him that standing ovation. Pretty sure it was SummerSlam because it was in New York. And here in LA, the fans showed John Cena some love. And they kind of showed me that really every fan on the outside in front of everybody else, to quote unquote be the cool kid, they're going to scream Cena sucks and he can't wrestle and all those other stupid ass arguments and cliches they had for Cena, but really deep down in their heart, they respect him. And when he's leaving like this and when he's kind of winding things down and he's no longer the man, I think the fans can tolerate him a little bit more, and they showed him a lot of love tonight in LA. And I've been saying that as an older wrestling fan, as somebody who's much older, most likely than 90% of my audience. I was the one that said right from the beginning, you fans are going to learn. As you get older, you're going to learn to respect these guys. I couldn't stand Hogan when I was young. It drove me nuts. This no-selling, winning all the time bastard, what the fuck? But by the time we got to the end of his career, I appreciated what he brought to wrestling. I mean, he really took wrestling to a new level, and without Hogan, I would not have had the WWF that I loved growing up. So it's just a matter of perspective and being able to understand things and respect things as you get older and you mature. And I knew at some point the fans will one day grow to respect John Cena. They may not love him, but they'll respect him. And I think the Cena sucks chants will wind up at some point, especially when he goes into the Hall of Fame, being very similar to the Kurt Angle sucks chants, because they chant "You Suck" to his theme song, but they love him. And one day when John Cena is retired as an 18-time world champion or whatever and goes into the Hall of Fame and becomes GM of Raw, I think the fans will love him and still chant "Cena sucks" during his theme song. That's what I think John Cena's legacy will be. And I think the majority of the fans who are grown-ups and are mature, I think truly will respect Cena when it's all said and done. And at least for right now, for those of you who refuse to ever respect a guy and just want him out of your life, well, you're in luck, because he's not going to be in your life very much. He's going to be part-time. He's going to be in and out. And when he's there, if he does win a title, it's going to be brief. Just like last year. Remember, they put the title on him to tie Ric Flair, I think, and he held it very briefly, dropped it in the Elimination Chamber to Bray Wyatt, and that was it. His days of 8-month title reigns are long gone, and at this point, they're going to give him sympathy reigns to get him to break Ric Flair's record, is what I'm guessing. So, tonight could have been a significant night. Unless John Cena comes back tomorrow night on Raw, challenges Roman Reigns to a rematch, and beats him at the next pay-per-view, then that's all out the window. But as it appears right now, John Cena making you vomit should not be a problem for wrestling fans anymore, and I think you're starting to see that. So, kudos to both guys. They worked their asses off. That table spot on the outside of the ring was pretty scary. Roman Reigns landed right on his head. They pulled out all the stops, put on a great match, and yeah, I got nothing to complain about at all. Good victory for Roman Reigns, and it could turn out to be a very historic match, depending on how the future unfolds. So I'm curious to hear all the fans' complaints about it. The funny thing is no matter what happens in this match, fans have something to bitch about, because no matter who wins, they hate both guys. So they're going to be bitching about something. So if you got something to bitch about, go ahead, have at it, knock yourself out in the comments. I probably won't even read them, to be honest with you. But I kind of have a mild curiosity as to what everyone thinks. As far as the rest of the card, we saw one title change, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but Enzo is your new Cruiserweight champion. I fucking had a feeling. Those of you who did not listen to my predictions video, go listen to it. The link is right up there in the top right-hand corner of the screen if you click the cards there. I mentioned when I did that video that there's a really good chance that Enzo could win. I didn't predict him to win. I predicted Neville to retain, just out of principle. But I had a feeling that Enzo being brought over to 205 Live, what's the point of bringing him there if you kill him the minute he gets in the door? Kind of the same point, ironically, I had with Braun Strowman. If you're going to do everything you did with him throughout the summer to build him up as a monster, why beat him with one F5 and a 1-2-3 in the middle of the ring? So Enzo, I had a feeling, could steal a victory here. I said right from the start there was no way he was going to beat Neville clean. And even though I can't stand Enzo and I love Neville, I wouldn't be necessarily pissed off if Neville stole the belt, if he stole a victory. And that's exactly what he did. He stole a victory, low-blowed Neville, folded him up, got a quick 1-2-3, and potentially signed his death warrant because now Neville's going to be pissed off. I can't imagine Enzo holding onto this belt for too much longer. We're going to get a rematch right away, whether he drops it on Raw, 205 Live, or the next pay-per-view, which I think is TLC. I have no idea. But I'll tell you what, I appreciate that Tozawa Cruiserweight victory a whole hell of a lot more now, because if Enzo would have been the guy to end the long run of Neville, I might have lost my shit. So the fact that Tozawa got the belt first and Neville just won it back and Enzo didn't interrupt like a 9-month reign, I'm very grateful for that. But I imagine Neville's going to wind up murdering Enzo at some point and getting that belt back. But, like I said, Enzo's a fresh face and a breath of fresh air and a new character on 205 Live. And if they're going to put him in a title feud with the champion right off the bat, instead of building him up, you kind of have to put the title on him. So I really don't disagree with the title victory, as crazy as that sounds. I know you guys know I hate Enzo, but I can't really disagree with putting the belt on him, at least for a couple of weeks, and then have Neville just completely kill him at some point and win the belt back. No big deal, right? Everybody else retained their titles, including Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, who had a hell of a match with Sheamus and Cesaro. And poor Cesaro, goddamn, watching that spot. For those of you who didn't see it, he takes one of those ring post bumps, but now they have the big, giant LED ring posts. And he goes over the top rope to kind of smash his face on it, but he literally smashes his front 2 teeth right on the side of that ring post and knocks them both out. Sick as hell. You see it. They showed a replay of it in fucking slow motion. I started losing my mind. My hands started sweating. If I had a Vicodin, I would have taken 3 of those fucking things. I mean, it hurt to even watch that. I lost a bunch of teeth when I was a kid, and I still have nightmares about it. That's why I always avoided fights at all costs when I was growing up. I got in a few fights, but if I could avoid one, I would. Not because I was scared of being hit in the mouth, but because I also didn't want to hit anybody in the mouth. The thought of my knuckle going on somebody's teeth gave me the fucking willies, and I didn't want to do it. And it's all because of this childhood accident I had where I, fell off my bike and completely rearranged my mouth. And I got half my teeth are fake in my mouth because of that. The fact that poor Cesaro had to go through that, I felt horrible for him. And the motherfucker stayed in the match. This asshole knocks his teeth out, and then he gets up on the apron like nothing's wrong, waiting to be tagged in, and proceeds to have another 10-minute match with his opponents. And he's out there doing crazy spots. They had the one really big near fall that I thought should have been the finish, when they had Dean Ambrose down and then they top rope powerbomb Seth Rollins onto Dean. The fact that Dean Ambrose kicked out of that, I was amazed, but the crowd went nuts for that near fall. Half of me thought that should be the finish, and half of me loved the near fall. So I'm kind of in the middle about that. But at the end of the day, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins did wind up winning. Seth caught Sheamus with his finisher, and then he ate a Dirty Deeds right after that, and they got the pin. But to me, this match was all about the toughness of Cesaro. Holy shit. They were showing close-ups of his teeth. It was fucking gnarly. He even tweeted out a picture after the match of him and Sheamus backstage. He's smiling ear to ear, missing teeth. So I'm sure he's probably in the dentist as we speak right now, getting himself taken care of, and hopefully he's getting some painkillers, because that just looked like it hurt like a motherfucker. We've seen some teeth fall out before. Jeff Hardy just lost a tooth not long ago. The Miz cracked a few of his veneers with AJ Styles, a year or so ago or whatever it was. But this one was worse than all of those. Gives me the fucking heebie-jeebies. But anyway, Rollins and Dean did retain the titles, and they still are champs. And like I said in my predictions video, I expected them to win. I thought they would survive at least one pay-per-view, and if there is a heel turn coming, it'll probably be coming this fall or in the wintertime with Dean Ambrose. Alexa Bliss also retained the Women's Championship in the Fatal 5-Way. Nothing too newsworthy to come out of that match. They had one good spot where Nia Jax got powerbombed on the outside of the ring when all 4 girls teamed up on her, and she took a pretty sick bump and folded her up pretty good. I predicted Nia to win because Asuka is on her way to the WWE Raw roster, and it was announced tonight on No Mercy that she will debut at TLC. So I had mentioned in my predictions video that I felt that Nia Jax should be the one to be champion when Asuka gets there, because retiring as champion at NXT, you think she's going to walk in the door as number one contender. There's not a whole lot of build-up you need to have for Asuka. Maybe 1 or 2 weeks of some jobber matches, but she needs to be put in a title match right away. And Alexa Bliss, even though she won clean tonight against 4 other girls, I still don't think she's a credible enough opponent. And of course, Nia Jax is gigantic. She's strong, and she's had a history with Asuka in NXT previously. She seems like the most credible opponent, so I had predicted Nia to win. But she lost. Alexa Bliss won the match clean, escaped with the title, and good for her. Not a whole lot to say about the Bray Wyatt and Finn Balor match. It was exactly what we expected it to be. Finn Balor did get the win. The only thing that was interesting is that Bray Wyatt attacked Finn Balor before the match. During his entrance, beat the hell out of him, slammed him on the announce table outside the ring. As they're escorting Finn Balor to the back, Bray Wyatt gets on the mic and starts taunting him. Finn Balor ends up wanting to wrestle and demands that the match be started. They go on to have a decent match, and Finn Balor gets the win. But what I don't understand is, what's the point of having Bray Wyatt do that to Finn only for him to win anyway? It just makes Bray Wyatt look even worse. A lot of people have been talking about how Bray Wyatt is buried. I refuse to use the word buried. I think that's way too broad of a term. Yes, Bray Wyatt is nowhere near where we want him to be, but he's working on every show against top quality opponents. He's not on the kickoff working with Elias Sampson or with Apollo Crews or anything like that. He's on the main card, semi-main event every single pay-per-view. So he's not necessarily buried. He just never wins, ever. It seems like Bray Wyatt never comes out on top of any matches, and if he does, he winds up losing the feud. Like, he'll beat his opponent once at some pay-per-view, but then he'll wind up losing the next 2. He's done that with Roman Reigns, he's done that with John Cena, he's done that with fucking everybody. So I've been calling for a Bray Wyatt face turn. It can't hurt. Fans seem to like Bray Wyatt anyway, and if they turned him face somehow, I don't know what kind of babyface he would be. I don't think you could really change his character up. I think he would have to be the same guy, just be a babyface. So I think that could maybe help him a little bit, but if WWE doesn't have any, plans for Bray Wyatt, then it doesn't matter really if he's a heel or a babyface. But, he's got a good spot on the card. He just never wins. We thought he had a rebirth after he won the WWE title earlier this year, but he held it for a month and dropped it, and then we were like, what the fuck? And then he went right back to being where he was. So I agree that Bray Wyatt, is an extremely disappointing character right now, and he never comes out on top of anything, but, he's not exactly the opening match on the card. This guy's a big part of the show, still over, still a great entrance, still a merchandise seller, I'm sure, and still somebody that WWE, I think, is going to utilize heavily. They're just not putting any belts on him or giving him any meaningful programs. He's been used to elevate Finn Balor in this case, which is fine. I would love to see Finn Balor get back up to world title contention. Doesn't look like that's going to happen until after next year, now with the outcome of the Brock Lesnar-Braun Strowman match, and the likely match now between Brock and Roman at WrestleMania, because who does Brock drop the belt to now? If he didn't lose it to Strowman, unless they have a rematch and he loses it to Strowman later, he's going to hold that belt, it looks like, until WrestleMania. So Finn Balor being in the world title picture is probably a ways off, unless they put him in the ring with Brock, in the next couple of months. Otherwise, he's not going to be anywhere near it for a while. So, they want to keep him relevant and keep him on top of the card. So he's got to beat somebody, and in Bray Wyatt's case, I don't think WWE has as big of plans for him right now in their heads as they do Finn Balor. So yes, on one hand, I'm totally disappointed. I'm right there with you for everybody that thinks Bray Wyatt is becoming a joke. But the fact that he's some, buried jobber, no way. He's nowhere near that. He's not Kurt Hawkins. He still has some value. And since we're basically going right in reverse order here, I'll mention the opening match on the card. The Miz was another champion to retain his title. He did defeat Jason Jordan in a pretty decent match. And the Miz Taraj was kind of involved on the outside. Miz ended up catching Jordan with a skull-crushing finale and retaining the title, which I'm thrilled about because I love the Miz as Intercontinental Champion right now. I think he's got a lot of momentum. He's a great heel. He's just a great guy to hold that belt right now. Jason Jordan is not ready. He's very Rocky Maivia-ish. And then after the match, he cut a promo, I think it was with Renee Young, to where he was just very babyface. And then he ended up saying something where his closing line was just, the Miz still sucks. I still think he sucks. And then he walked off. And it's like, what the fuck? So I think the WWE is almost, surely they can't be this stupid. I mean, I'm thinking they're trying their hardest to make this guy puke-inducing. I really think they're trying to do what they did with The Rock, back when they were calling The Rock the Blue Chipper, and he was out there smiling and dancing around, and he would cut really stupid cookie-cutter promos that meant nothing and just, bored the fans to death. So I think WWE might be making Jason Jordan cut these boring promos on purpose, just to get the fans annoyed, and then it makes his heel turn down the line that much more special. I don't think you can do with Jason Jordan right now what you're doing with Roman Reigns or John Cena. I don't think you can make him this baby-kissing good guy that stands up for what's right, because you still have to reconcile his feud, or his angle, I should say, with Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle supposedly is his father. That angle cannot last forever. Jason Jordan cannot go into the WWE Hall of Fame in 20 years and thank his father, Kurt Angle. We know that's got to end at some point, or it's got to culminate somewhere. So I think that storyline and all that shit needs to take place first. And then if they want to make Jason Jordan the next Superman of the WWE, they can do that. But I don't think they're on the path to do that just yet. I think they're purposely trying to get under the fans' skin with his annoying-ass promos. And they've also been alluding to the fact that he has a temper and he can kind of snap sometimes. Eventually he's going to snap. Maybe he's going to completely murder The Miz. Maybe he's going to go nuts and turn heel on his father. We don't know what he's going to do. But I think that his promo that he cut was done by design to get the fans just annoyed with him even more. That's my guess anyway. If not, WWE's got some horrible fucking writers. So that is pretty much your No Mercy in a nutshell for the matches that I predicted. We did have a kickoff match, which I had no idea about. They added last minute. It was Elias defeating Apollo Crews, and nothing special happened in that match. As far as my predictions go, I think I got 3 matches wrong. I got Enzo winning the belt wrong. I got Alexa retaining wrong. And I got Brock winning wrong. All the other ones I predicted correctly. So I went 4-3 in predictions, so not too horrible. But yeah, until that main event, I thought the pay-per-view was very good. I was happy with it and had very little to complain about, and thought it was only going to get better. And then Braun and Brock did what they did. So whatevs. I will be back up here regular time this week, probably late Wednesday night, early Thursday. I'll talk about Monday Night Raw and all of the fallout from No Mercy, and we'll have another SmackDown under our belts as well. And is it time for Hell in the Cell predictions? I don't think so. I think that's one more week away. I could be wrong. Pretty sure that's October 1st. Fuck, I don't know. But whenever Hell in the Cell is, rest assured I'll be up here to predict it. You guys let me know all your thoughts and your opinions on No Mercy in the comments below, and have a great couple of days. And I will talk to you very soon for episode 458. Until next time, peace.